I think this is something very unique to Christian experience. And what is the problem here? If you look already in the Bible, Old Testament, and even in Freud, you see that a neighbor is not the fellow man. He is not the one with whom you identify, with whom you suffer, whom you can understand. No, the neighbor, Freud says, is precisely das Ding, a monstrous thing. Let me give you an example. Didn't it happen to you? At least it happens to me often. There is someone with whom you've lived for 10, 20 years. You know him or her from childhood. You think you know him. And all of a sudden, this person does something tasteless, terrifying. For example, when somebody is suffering, makes a sadistic remark or what, an evil smile. And then you ask yourself, my God, do I know that person at all? You all of a sudden see the abyss behind this well-known identity of a person. At that point, your fellow man becomes a neighbor. The neighbor is always intrusive. There is something, the neighbor is always, it's not only for those who hate immigrants, but like for Hitler, the Jew was a neighbor. No matter how far away they were, there were always too much of them and too close. And this, I think, is the problem, as Freud made it clear, of this Christian motto, love your neighbor as yourself. It's a very difficult thing to do. And again, just to finish, I don't want to, my very good translator, to torture him too much, because I already suspect that in the evening he will buy a voodoo doll of me and put the needles in. This, I think, to cut a long story short, is what is wrong in this politically correct idea of respect your neighbors, multicultural tolerance, and so on. Just to provide a formula, which I repeat in many of my books, did you notice how today, more and more, we want on the market products, but deprived of their substance? Like, you want coffee, but decaffeinato. You want beer, but without alcohol. You want chocolate without sugar. And so on and so on. I claim that, and I cannot go now in detail how, but that in multiculturalism they want a neighbor but a decaffeinated neighbor, you know. And it's it's not so simple to say, let's open ourselves to the neighbor. This multiculturalist tolerance attitude of we should understand each other, like I have to penetrate you to see, to understand your world and so on. This is for me a false pseudo-demand. If there is a lesson to be learned from Freud, it is that how can I understand you when you, me included, when you don't even understand yourself? I think this is a false liberal blackmail. You know, when a liberal, tolerant man visits a country, he tries to understand their rituals, whatever, and then, but I don't think this is the way to do it. I'm almost tempted to claim that true tolerance today, and authentic tolerance, should be composed of two elements. First, a proper distance, ignorance, and dirty racist jokes. I'm not kidding. I always advocated, this is one of the provocations that you mentioned, I always advocated the use of racist jokes as a great tool of progressive politics. What do I mean by this? First, by distance. Listen. Let's say I live in a modern city where across the street there is a Vietnamese house, down there are Arabs, and who are the worst for you now? I was told that your neighbors are the Romanians now, they are, yeah. And I don't want to understand all these people. I don't care. I think people don't interest me. I want a more alienation. I want to have some rules of politeness, and this is the true tolerance, not this imperialist tolerant, I want to understand you, I want to understand your dreams and so on. That's horrible. I don't want to know dreams of other people. Dreams are usually, you know, if you go deep enough, very dirty, embarrassing. I want to have some superficial set of rules which allows me, this is for me tolerance. There is a Vietnamese, there is a Romanian, and so on. And we politely ignore each other and treat each other just with due respect. That's enough. Politically opposed. I have very good relations with him, Peter Sloterdijk. I hope he did or will arrive also today. You know, there is, I always like to tell him something like, you know, when I take power, you go to Gulag. When you take power, you will probably arrest me, but till that time we can be good friends, no? He, in one of his last books, uses a nice expression. He said, what we need today is a new, how do you call it, codigo della discrezione, code of discretion. How, you know, to be discreet is a problem. And here, there are ridiculous everyday experiences which tell you a lot about this need to maintain distance. For example, let me tell you a story. You don't have to, it's very easy to understand. I was a year ago in United States, Harvard, giving a talk. After I was invited to dinner. And there we were 4 or 5 professors who didn't know well each other. So the one who invited us told us, okay, first we present each other. You tell me, each of you, where you work, your post, what you work on, the field of your work, and your sexual orientation. Now, I was a little bit shocked in the sense of, like, it's none of your business, no? But then it's too easy to say Americans are just open. They're more open at this level. They have no discretion here, but they have more discretion at another level. I remember an American friend visited me last summer in Slovenia, and we went to the sea. And this person was totally shocked at this rule we have on the Mediterranean for the last, I think, 20 years, where for women topless is allowed, it's tolerated. He felt almost attacked. He felt as if his space is intruded by all these breasts around and so on and so on. And I don't think there is anything alienating, non-authentic about it. We need this. I will give you now the extreme example of how we don't tolerate proximity. Apparently the most open cinematic genre, pornography, hardcore. It's extremely censored and conservative. How? Did you notice, if you admit honestly here publicly that you watched some of them, did you notice one strange thing? This at least is my experience with old pornography. When I was young, of course, you cannot just show sex. You need some stupid story to legitimize why the people will make love. And I was always surprised by the utter stupidity of this story.